Hi everyone, my name's Joshua Schneider, and I'm going to be doing the pop cultural comparative analysis on The Twilight Zone, The Three-Body Problem, and Stranger Things. So, the role of science fiction in our culture plays as an edge between reality and fantasy. It walks a fine line between scientific theory and fantastical thought that drives more theory and discovery than many other things that we can think about. It allows for people to expand their knowledge and thoughts towards breaking barriers of things we never considered possible, which allows for further scientific discovery. It allows people to question reality in the natural world while also serving as a basis for judgment in our culture. It allows us to kind of sit back and look at what are the bigger things and themes that we're missing, what are things that we can address and fix. And it's really just a nice large platform to discuss the bigger questions of our, maybe our place in the universe. What is reality? Why are we alive? Things like that. It's really great. So the cultural fascination with many began with H.G. Wells and the War of the Worlds in 1897. Right here, the picture on the slide is actually what one of the aliens was described as in his book. But basically, this earlier science fiction novel drove the beginning fascination of just sci-fi and the thought of aliens invading our world. Another thing that brought this forth was the alien crash in Roswell, New Mexico in 1947, which many different controversies have come up since then about government scandals and conspiracy theories and all that, but I don't really know too much on it. The Twilight Zone itself in the 1959 came out, bringing sci-fi to the TV of children on every Saturday morning. My dad used to rant and rave about it when I was a kid and telling me I needed to watch it. Star Trek in 1966 and Star Wars in 1977 helped popularize sci-fi, bringing it to the big screen, allowing for people to really just sit back and enjoy different space wars and adventures. And then the moon landing in 69 also kind of brought a whole new generation to the idea that the possibility of space travel was there, that we could go out and spend an entire lifetime as an astronomer working in the stars and being out in space, which generally also drove the insatiable curiosity of the unknown. That's one thing that humans have always just had. Our curiosity of the unknown has propelled many scientific discoveries. The moon landing helped open the door to more unknown things, and since then has been a huge cultural icon. And then recently, the Mars rover actually found microbial aliens, kind of like isopods in the ocean, on Mars, which is really cool. So the Twilight Zone in '59 was made and was brought to the television in everyone's homes. It basically was a time of fear in for most children who were dealing with the Cold War, learning to duck and cover from nuclear bombs under their desks. It was definitely an uncertain time for humanity with the threat of nuclear destruction for the entire world. So I believe that the Twilight Zone definitely emphasizes fear of uncertainty in life at this time. There's 8 different episodes about alien encounters, and the emphasis of the use of technology for each alien encounter is brought up in the series. It also brings up the proposition of humanity's worth throughout many different episodes. And the fear of the unknown is definitely a theme in these episodes that is a main driving point that creates the curiosity and just the fantasticness of the entire series. So the Three-Body Problem, which we all read, came out in 2008, which is more Easternized ideology of an alien invasion, or at least to what I believe, because it emphasizes the impacts of governments and entire institutions, whereas many times in Western novels or Western shows, like what we've seen in Stranger Things, it focuses more on a smaller group. Um, and here it addresses the contact with aliens and what it would look like, focusing on the dangers that aliens would create towards humans. It addresses the response that humans would have towards knowing of aliens, such as the creation of new religions to worship them. It would also emphasize the fear of the unknown constantly throughout the entire book. I think that was a prevailing theme, was the fear of the aliens coming and invading and what they would do to us or how it would look. And new technology was definitely something that was brought up constantly, such as like the use of the radar station and Yao Winsie's use of the radar station to bounce microwave radiation or whatever sort of radiation it was to contact the aliens. I think that's another important fact, is just the use of technology. So in Stranger Things, we see a more mainstream kind of westernized ideology of aliens, with the use of the thought of dimensional travel, huge scientific topic on that. Definitely fear of the unknown driving the entire series. Shows the impacts that aliens would leave on like a smaller group in a small town, and how their different groups would be impacted by it, like the friend groups, and how adults would be impacted by it, and just the response of the overall community. Definitely emphasizes the danger of aliens, with many different people getting killed, and the new technology allowing for aliens to appear, such as the technology that allowed for the dimensional travel, opening up the rift between the Upside Down and Hawkins. So technology is definitely a major factor driving the storyline. So when comparing and contrasting all the different stories, I think it's definitely important to address that every single one uses alien invasions as the main theme or avenue of which everything is happening around. They all bring up the role of technology in playing with or contacting with aliens, and how that would be used, and how it would impact us. It also shows how aliens would change the way that humans interact in different groups, creating new religious groups, creating anarchy, toppling governments, stuff like that. And they all address the fear of the unknown. I think that's a main factor here, is that every single one of these address the human fear of the unknown, of coming in contact with an extraterrestrial group. And when contrasting, I would say that they all bring up different methods of alien invasion, such as, in the three-body problem, how they'd be traveling for 450 years from the closest solar system to us, whereas in Stranger Things, they're moving in dimensional travel, and in the Twilight Zone, in the different alien episodes, many times it was traveling by just spaceship. And lastly, they all have a different underlying messages built on the same platform. So they all use aliens as like the main theme, technology kind of driving the contact with the aliens as like the overarching kind of backbone of the story, but everything going on around it is very different in the methods that they're contacting the aliens, the type of aliens, what it would impact humans like, how it would impact them. So I think it's important to say that the backbone is with the aliens and technology, but the rest of everything else happening is kind of just different. So the larger significance, as I just mentioned, all three use science fiction as their backbone. Technology, aliens, fear of the unknown, kind of driving that storyline, keeping the audience excited, and showing that like the possible threat aliens would pose to humans, and how new technology would change our world, for better and for worse. And lastly, the breakdown of societal and cultural norms, such as how new religions would be created, new thought would be created, stuff like that. Lastly, the moral and religious lessons. The Twilight Zone brings up the catastrophe the aliens will bring, which was definitely likely influenced by the Cold War era attitudes of just humanity's destruction. Whereas the three-body problem brings up, the question of whether humans have a place in the universe that is right and just, or if we're really just a virus, which was definitely shaped by the author's views towards Chinese society after the Cultural Revolution. And then lastly, Stranger Things emphasizes the need for unity in crisis, while also showing the crisis that, aliens would bring up and how advanced they would be. Overall, I would say they all stress the reality of what I researched was called the Copernican principle, which is a theory that is also in science fiction, which brings up that the Earth does not have a unique position in the universe, and the Earth is not special, and intelligent life does exist, therefore, which really just brings into question religion's place in our lives, as well as the reality of the possibility of extraterrestrial life, which I think all of these emphasize, while also questioning and allowing for people to think about and take their position on what they believe the answers to these questions are. Well, that is my presentation. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. And here are my works cited.